tell us about the state of New Orleans and the characters as we're coming into season 2.
Oh, New Orleans has been shaken to its core. The supernatural community when we get to the season 2, you know, the vampires have been basically decimated, and those that remain have been exiled out of the quarter. They're literally not allowed to be in the quarter under punishment of death. So Marcel has taken up across the river, where we found him at the end of last year, and is basically in exile. And the originals have sort of closed up the gates to their compound, and locked them up tight because they're, you know, selling their grief, quote unquote. And those damn wolves with their moonlight rings, under the control of Francesca Guerrera, are ruling the roost and have made an alliance with the witches. So you're basically, it's no good to be a vampire in the state of Louisiana right now. No good at all.
Are we going to meet some new characters?
Yeah, we're going to actually meet some pretty awesome new characters. You know, we got a little baby glimpse of who, you know, the witch we're calling Cassie, but I think it was fairly clear to everybody who she really was. That there was, you know, Big Mama sitting in there somewhere. And then a man who called her mother. So there's only a few people that could be. And we'll learn that very soon. We will meet sort of delightfully obnoxious, delightfully obnoxious, charming, and wildly handsome Caleb, played by Daniel Sherman, who is very cute and who takes a liking instantly to Davina, and who has a few secrets of his own. And I think those are the big ones, but it's a good mix of characters.
Now, with Esther and Rachel both back, will they be reunited at any point, or?
You know what? We are a good 5 episodes deep, and they have yet to become aware of the other. And so, what we are really looking forward to is the moment when Esther realizes Michael's back, Michael realizes Esther's back, and in fact, Michael Narducci right now is working on a script where he tells the story of their young love story as they were having babies, and what turned Michael into the kind of monstrous man, and Esther into the woman that she is today. So we're excited about that one.
Davina had kind of a badass moment in the finale with Michael. Are we going to see more of that from her in the season?
Yeah, you know, Davina's been sitting with him in her attic, basically, in the church attic, with him completely under her control, and he's starting to chafe a little bit at that, and starting to push back at her and trying to figure out if there are ways that he can get out of the situation, but she's holding firm, and they actually strike up a very interesting relationship that I enjoy. We kind of liken them a little bit to Arya and the Hounds, you know, in that he's kind of, you know, brutish and evil, and she's, you know, trying to keep her strength and learn a few things along the way from him as well.
Is the whole collapsing of the other side thing going to affect the originals just as much? Like, how are they dealing with that?
It's basically, that is the way that, the collapsing of the other side is the way that Esther was able to come back and bring back question mark. And so for us, it was the opportunity, knowing what we were doing on Vampire Diaries and that the other side was going away forever. We were like, it's now or never. We're either, you know, bringing a brother and a mother back, or we're done.
Do you see that the collapse of the other side, that's final? There's no reversing that?
That is final, yeah, without a doubt. It's time, you know. I mean, I love the stories that we told on both shows, but it probably, we've been talking about shutting it down for good for about a season and a half, and then we finally did it, and not without a little pain, and suffering.
Do you have more crossover plans for this season?
We've got one that we're thinking about, that we're in the works, but the schedule hasn't been done and the deal hasn't been made. So, but if and when that happens, it'll happen soon. So, keep your fingers crossed. So, a big, strong baby. We talk about crossovers all the time. It's just that, you know, it depends on the story, really.
So the baby's not dead, but they've had to give it away. So how are Klaus and everyone, you know, in the family dealing with that loss and having to move on and, you know, have this big fake out?
Yeah, it's been tough. And when we open the show, we're 4 months later, and so what we will see is that, you know, Elijah has been sort of making the rules on how they need to act and how they need to behave in order to sell the story perfectly. And for Klaus, that means literally not leaving the house for fear of blowing it. But he is so angry and so wired tight for vengeance, and he wants to go out, and as he says, I need to spill blood, and he can't yet because Elijah's calling the shots. So they are having a little bit of a difference of opinion about how to be dealing with their situation. And then Haley kind of has the world's worst, almost like postpartum depression, in that like she lost her child and she became hybrid, and of course, as we all know from vampire areas, once you become a vampire, your emotions get heightened to the 100th degree. So she's kind of losing her shit, so to speak, all over the place.
Are we going to see Claire, Rebecca back?
Yeah, we're going to see her here and there. I won't tell you when or how, but you get a little taste of her today in the promo reel, and hopefully we'll get to see her a couple times over the course of the season. As much as she's available and wanting to be with us.
As much as the vampires are kind of out now, is New Orleans overall, for like the humans and everyone, is it a better place with the witches and werewolves kind of in charge, or is it still chaos? I
have to imagine it's a better place for the humans. The problem is like humans have been sort of the dupes of the situation all along. They were, they were in alliance with the vampires. Sort of, hey, as long as you stick to your killing to tourists, we're okay, and keep it quiet. I think that right now, it's no matter which supernatural alliance is made, the humans are constantly getting sort of left, on the weaker end. And I'd like to see the day when, for example, Cammie steps forward and says, no more. She can't do that yet because she would lose, but maybe one day.
So speaking of sort of war, is there going to be a big struggle between the outside and the inside?
Yeah, there's going to be basically, I'd like to call it a pissing match, although that's probably not the best language to use at a round table, but you've got these werewolves who, of course, historically have never liked vampires. They're two species that are not meant to get along, who have basically been tasked with the responsibility of making sure that any vampire that sits in the corner is killed upon sight. And you've got the vampires who are like, screw you guys, telling us where we can go and where we can't. So there's a lot of friction and a lot of territorial debate, so to speak, about who's supposed to be where. But the vampires, for the first time, are kind of on the weak side.